Hi, welcome everybody to this session on the importance of legal tech, a topic close to all of our hearts, and opportunities and women engagement. I'm actually joined by three incredible ladies who are in a short moment about to introduce themselves, but I'll just give you a quick welcome personally from myself. My name's Frances Singleton-Clift. I currently work at the University of Amsterdam, heading up their legal tech hub there. And I, on the side, also do a couple of pro bono legal tech projects. I work with quite a lot of startups in sub-Saharan Africa with sort of justice tech initiatives. And I started the Women in Legal Tech initiative here in Amsterdam. We had our first event quite a while ago now, but slowly but surely we're seeing that sort of innovation and women and greater diversity coming into this unfairly unrepresented area of tech. But now I want to hand it over to my amazing panel who are going to be chatting with me today. So let's start to what looks like for me, my left. Camilla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, hi. That's very nice. And I'm so happy that we've met here with such fabulous ladies from, I would say, from all over Europe. So my name is Kamila Kurkowska. I'm the president of Women in Law Foundation in Poland. I'm also Polish ambassador for European Legal Tech Association. I'm the founder of two legal tech startups, and also I'm the CEO of the, let's say, marketing agency for the professional services firms. Hi.
Wow, that short list there is one do you ever get any time to sleep, frankly. Moving on. Helen.
Okay, hi. Thanks. It's really nice to be here with all of you fabulous women. And my name is Helena Hallgarn. I'm vice president of ELTA and also ambassador for Sweden. And I'm also chairing the Swedish organization for Society for IT and Law. And I'm the co-founder of a legal tech company that is founded in 2010. And we have built a solution that changed the way legal documents are being produced among Swedish law firms, actually. And I have a background as a business lawyer. I've been working there for 16 years around the big law firms. And actually, I've been working with legal tech for more than 20 years. It's a long time. I'm the old one here.
You preceded all of us. I'm sure there's quite a lot of legal interns who are very happy that they no longer have to do document checking as a result of platforms like yours. And let's move on, last and not least, Marissa, someone who I know very well as a fellow Dutch. Introduce yourself.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you all here. I am here today in the head of Humanity of Things, organization that I founded that has inside a think tank of Brave Women Alliance, Bravas. So anything that is related to women's rights and women empowerment is something that is in my life for a long time. I do have also my own business, MQM Legal Center, and I am a co-founder of the Portuguese Institute of Legal Technology and Innovation. So today is really an opportunity to have my legal hat with my legal tech hat. And of course, I could not forget what links me to Elena and Camilla, that is the European Legal Tech Association, which I am a board member and enthusiastic new co-founder of Women in Legal Tech ELTA group that these amazing ladies are part of as well.
Well, another huge underachiever, clearly, like all of these women. Anyway, I think it's fair to say that we've assembled a pretty rigorous panel of amazing women who are both all of the legal tech experience and frankly are doing much to drive diversity within that field. But I think legal tech is probably an area that's hugely misunderstood, both in how broad that it can be. You know, I think a lot of people consider that legal tech is just something that lawyers use, whereas you can have, you know, justice tech and civic tech, and there's such a range and depth of innovation there. I think it'd be really great. Let's kick off what tech means for you and what it is a niche within the sort of tech field. And I'll reverse engineer this time. So maybe let's start with you, Marissa.
Well, like you say, this is a niche, and legal tech is still for many. For us, is something that is so familiar. But we were recently in a meeting saying that it's even in the law field, it's not so well known. So there's much awareness to be done, and it's our first task also with ELTA. But is this combination, this beautiful combination between the legal world and the tech, without trying to be too technical even in the explanation, because being a multidisciplinary area by nature, where people from different backgrounds, from IT, from law meet, language actually is a big challenge. So when you try to have a more legal approach, you'll try to define it as a concept. The more technical personnel will try to just see if they build technology that works. So you see, it's still not a solid definition even. But you will understand by talking now with Elena and Camilla, their own perspective of what do they understand as legal tech. But for me, it's really the mix. And I am a lawyer, so you need to understand that even if I love the technology, I need always others to support me in that part. But it's an amazing journey.
So for you, it's very much that sort of intersection then between the legal skills and then sort of applying those in a technological manner. And Helena, you clearly have a very sort of hands-on experience of legal tech, having your own legal tech startup and offering solutions to lawyers. What's legal tech for you?
Well, it has been actually in the beginning. Now it's usually considered as being a way to make legal work more efficient, to make lawyers more efficient and work in a bit different way. We try to look at how to change the way legal work is being done. And we want to change the perception of legal tech, because it's not just a place where you have lots of guys with cool tech tools. That's not it. We should try to solve our legal issues, solve legal problems. And that's why it's so good with some new perspectives. We need new people, other people to come in and look at it. What kind of problems do we have? How do we get access to justice in a new way? How can we really, truly solve legal issues? And that's where we need to move. There's been too much issues about tech tools, like techie solution. It's not it. It can be solved in an easier way, but you have to look at it in a new way. And that's why I think we need much more diversity in it. Look at it in a new way. What problems do we have? That's what we should look at in legal tech for the future, I guess.
Excellent. And Camilla, is that sort of something you recognize, or how do you see sort of the space of legal tech at the moment?
Talking about the diversity, Helena and Marissa, they are lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I have the Big Four background, but I'm not a lawyer. And I'm really totally agree what Helena said, that, for example, I'm somehow, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm somehow inside and outside of the legal sector. And it gives me something like, perspective, like a bird view, let's say so, to the legal sector. And for me, I would say that because I'm a big fan of innovation everywhere, and when I started to work with lawyers, firstly as a marketing manager, communication manager, I found out that a lot of technology that is used, or a lot of solutions, let's say so, that is used in another part of the business, for lawyers it's something very strange, or for lawyers it's something that they don't use it normally. So I would say that for me, legal tech, it's something like a part of a big innovation process that is taking place or will have to take place in the legal sector. But I would go a step forward, that also that's the change of the mentality of the lawyers. And I think that talking about legal tech, we couldn't only talk about the technology, but I deeply believe that we have to talk about the corporate culture, about the mentality, about the diversity, because there is no innovation without diversity. So to sum up, for me, that's what I understand the legal tech.
And I think that's probably quite an interesting point that we could look on a little bit further. I think for me, one of the most enjoyable that everybody understands that they're experiencing. So in principle, everybody has an idea that they could develop themselves and do legal tech. Like, it's something that we see a huge amount at UvA, at the university where I work. You know, students from all backgrounds are looking at, like, I have a rent problem. I find it very difficult to rent something. So how can I then develop a solution? And so the entry level, I think for a lot of solutions is very broad. But I wondered, like, if it's always been that way, have you guys seen that there's been increasing diversity, less diversity? How are you sort of viewing diversity within legal tech? Maybe I passed over the torch to Helena. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about what you've seen in terms of change in diversity in the.
Well, I think it's correct what Camilla said. It's actually, when we started to look at legal tech, it was mainly regular tech, actually. I mean, it's tech used in the legal sector. We consider that to be legal tech. It says tech issues used to be male for the male people, and then it moved to legal tech, and it's still men who was supposedly doing it. But now we see much more, as you talked about from the university, you look at solutions. You look at problems to solve. And once you move to problems to solve and solutions, how to handle those, it's not the tech part that's important. And then you can see much more diversity. You can see people from all kinds of areas who are involved in it and can find ways to solve these kind of problems. And that makes it much more interesting. And that's why we were catching much more women into it, I guess, too, because they are into the problem solving part, not tech tools, not fancy stuff. We want to solve problems.
I just said that, so now what you're saying is that because legal tech has pivoted to look more at problems, we're actually seeing that that's affected diversity and improved diversity.
Absolutely.
And Camilla, is this something you've seen as well from a sort of non-lawyer background perspective?
I would say that I have to admit that, for example, in Poland, generally the concept of legal tech is rather new. So we don't have such a perspective for 10 years. As for example, Helena said that she's a founder of the legal tech startup that was funded in 10 or 11 years ago. So for me, it's wow. And so I don't have such kind of perspective. But for example, every year when there is in Poland, there is a global legal hackathon. Every year there are, more and more teams. And that's not the issue that you have 2 more teams or 3 more teams. No, they double or triple or something like that. And what is, for example, for me, very important, that young lawyers, and not only lawyers, they are interested in legal tech. I mean that I'm running a lot of classes of innovation and legal tech, for example, for the bar of attorneys or for the law students. And they are saying that it's something so new for them, and they want to be inside, let's say, this movement. So I would say that even maybe from the other perspective, for example, we in the foundation, we have even, for example, the competition for the best thesis for the female law students, law with the technology background, with the title law with the technology background. And I personally believe that, for example, for these young female lawyers, technology could be somehow like a leverage for them to gain the competitive advantage into very competitive legal market. So I think that also the diversity is increasing. But for example, what I can observe from the Polish market, I don't know, during the legal conferences or something like that, you have the panels of 6 men, more than 50 or something like that. And there are only men. You don't have any woman who is seeing, like an expert. So I'm always raising a hand and saying, look, you have so many wonderful women that you can invite to the panel. And sometimes it gets to the mind of the organizers, but not always.
Yeah. And I think that's actually quite an interesting point that you raised there. It's one I'm pretty sure that Marissa will recognize, that this idea of training yourself and diversifying yourself in tech to actually raise your profile and have greater impact and sort of work your way up and improve diversity within law and technology. And I think quite a lot of clever women, and I'm going to turn to you in a second, Marissa, because I know that you've done this. The only person I know who has probably done more outside classes than inside classes in her life. Tell me, like, was this an active choice for you? Is this something that you see that women should be, getting these tech skills and diversifying to increase diversity within law and technology?
I do think that is up to us, and we can get the narrative that we are not given the chance or this or that, but well, you do know me, and I have a more I will sit in the table mentality. So, I think it's kind of normal, even if it's a novelty, if there's not many women doing this for a long time, the people that start will always have a harsh moment to entry. And what I see in my own path was I'm still learning. Like you say, it's true. I will be an eternal student because I also get a lot of satisfaction to keep learning. But because I already had this mentality that I wanted to learn much more than law. So for me, it was clear that I wanted to explore other departments of knowledge, and technology was a fit, of course. But but this is about this. So I want to be very clear that I don't aim to be a tech person. I want to be able to talk with them. So for me, it's very important. Camilla was talking about hackathons. I participate in the 3 sessions of the Hackathon for Peace, Justice, and Security in The Hague. The first year as an exercise of, could I be part of a team? In the second year, I was a mentor in 1 in 10, and I was the only female. So, but my experience in being part of a hackathon, especially also about age group, you need to understand I'm not in the youngest of the groups, but putting yourself to the test, go learn, why not? So you're never too old. And it's not because you went to law that you cannot learn parts of technology, but also what I think it's maybe the biggest scary mistake is that everybody is telling you, oh, okay, so learn how to code, potentially, maybe you don't need to learn that, but if you surround yourself like I did with programmers, with people that know how to code, and then you find also like Elena said, so what is the problem?
Yeah.
In the last hackathon, it was about that. So you had the IT side that never went to a court. So, knowing this conversation is it. I don't think anyone will have the total skills in this field. This field is a multidisciplinary field by nature.
And I think that's an important thing, which maybe lends itself more to diversity than to some other areas. I think the point of legal tech is that because it is solving real world problems, and they require that, they sit within a system that is very difficult to change, as much as we would like to make innovative new laws and have people deal with things differently. Court systems and things like that are by default designed to be constant, unchanging, unmoving for the security and the safety that it gives. And what's fun, I think, is working on ways and solutions and addressing problems that actually can work within that system and still make a difference. And it can be something, really small. I know that one of my favorite innovations that I'm working with at the moment in South Africa, they do contracts, but they do contracts in comic book form. Just because, some people can't read them, and they do employment contracts, and they work with particularly a lot of fruit pickers. And what's nice is in offering that solution, they've actually created something that is a fairer contract, because no big company enjoys seeing a picture of a sick child with a big X through it saying you can't visit your sick family members. But also it's, people stay and work longer because they finally understand their employment. And that's not a high-tech solution. It's innovation, and it's changing the way people approach law and justice. And I think maybe that's a pretty good segue into the sort of inclusiveness of legal tech then. You're all clearly working with amazing organizations, or you've set up your own groups or things like that to help improve diversity. How did you start? Like, how's it going? Are you finding that those groups are helping? And if they are, like, what changes are they bringing about? And I'll shout it over first to that you've set up some in Poland there. Can you talk some more about that?
I've heard Poland, so I think that I was I was indicated to answer that question. So now, when I was thinking how the, let's say, the foundation, the Women in Law Foundation started, it was exactly during one of the conferences about legal tech, something like 3 years ago in Poland. Because in the conference room, I would say that there were half and half. Half women and half men. But on the stage, you had 11 speakers and only one woman. And I approached to this woman because we know each other, and I said, "Oh, Kasia, it's so cool that they invited you to being a speaker." And she said, "No, nobody invited me. I invited myself to this to this conference." So and then I put on LinkedIn something like a comment that cool and very great conference, but why there is only men there? So the discussion started, and I found out, wait a minute, here in Poland we don't have any, let's say, anybody to support women generally in legal sector. I wouldn't say that Polish legal sector is exceptional. I mean that when I'm talking with other lawyers from abroad, I would say that there are a lot of women in legal sector, but the problem is that they reach some level. I mean, for example, in the law firms, they reach senior associate or counsel, something like that. But when you are talking about the partners or equity partners in the law firms, there are very few women. We've counted that, for example, in a Polish law firm, in 15 biggest law firms, there is only one female managing partners. Talking about the biggest 30 law firms in Poland, you have only, I don't know, 20% of female partners. So that is showing you, I mean, who is managing the sector. I mean, who is the boss? I would say so. So with that was the idea. Right now, we've developed a lot of projects. The projects that I'm really proud of is the mentoring program. We did one first edition last year, and now in 2 weeks we will start another one. And talking, for example, about building the community. Of course, last year was very difficult with the COVID times, but even when we had all the meetings online, I would say that it gave so much, I would say, power and sometimes courage, not only to mentees, but also to mentors, and to contact with them and to establish relations. I know that there are 2 businesses arise from this mentoring program. So I think that that's one of the examples how women could support each other. The other project that we have that I've already talked about is the competition for the female lawyers. And the third one, we have it is called Center for the Support in Your Career, something like that. So every time if you are a lawyer, female or male lawyer, and you want to have, let's say, consultation with somebody who has more experience than you, we have among our, let's say, advisors, we have also 2 coaches. And for example, head of legal, I don't know, of Peugeot, or head of legal of Ferrero, etc., etc. And that's something like, once again, that's the way of supporting young lawyers and somehow to help them in their career. But also that's the way of building the community. So I think that there are a lot of ways to help each other. And what I can say, I was really surprised how many people want to help and want to share their knowledge, their experiences, and to help others simply.
I'd say it's been really pleasant. I think when you scratch the surface, not just within the legal tech community, but within the sort of women in diversity groups and things like that, the amount of support and help that's there, and from both sides, right? Like I have huge networks. I work with a FemStart mentorship program that helps sort of female entrepreneurs who need help and advice on getting their businesses up and running. And they have a network of just hundreds of people who are willing at the drop of a thing, like drop of a hat, to just call up the phone and work with you, you know, one-on-one on sessions to improve and get your business off the ground. And actually that sort of probably leads on fairly for how women in legal tech were started, with the help of Marissa above me on the screen. How has your experience been then of groups and support, and how has that helped diversity efforts for you in the Netherlands, Marissa?
Well, I start with, for me, the groups are very important. And I started with Delft Mama when I started in the Netherlands to reach the community of mothers, because that's how I reached the Netherlands. And I saw the importance of the communities no matter where you are. So I think I understood that. Of course, as an expat, it's very hard. But I think even in your own country, this idea of belonging. I was telling my interns this morning that a professor of mine of the law university created now recently a group on Facebook of lawyers from this university. So it's even from a region. And in less than 2 weeks, he had like 600 people joining the group, very excited because we are all lawyers now, different ages, different competence, and immediately everybody say, oh, you know, requesting help. So I think this idea of communities is really, really important, and maybe more than ever. But the women community and being part also of women in tech, supporting the organization, that's how I wanted to also start, is we can do something. So this is not only about getting supported, this is about reaching out and support others as much as you can. I see that importance of trying to be of service for existing communities. We don't need to start over and over communities. We can try to reinforce existing communities with our own role, with our own mindset. And even when I started Brave Women Alliance, I didn't want to start an organization. I wanted to start a project. So, and like I say, small little things. You don't even need to go for the big goals. Small little things. It's like wherever you are, try to do something. Like, are you in an organization? That organization doesn't have any group focus on diversity and women. Create it. Create your, you know, like the Camilla was saying.
The perfect segue, because you know, you're all members of ELTA, and Helena, you're fairly senior within the organization, and it seems like you three women are single-handedly like pushing the diversity and representation and things. I was just saying, what have you done within ELTA to sort of help diversity and support it as an institution?
Well, we will work harder now with this group together with Marissa, that's leading this group, and I believe I'm much of a person who is much of a doer, to change things by doing things. And like in my business, we were two women started founding the legal tech, is showing that women can do it in a much better way. And then in reality, I think if you focus on diversity by looking at it, that you have a different perspective and use that different perspective, because like we have been arranging a big strategy event for the legal sector in Scandinavia for 10 years. We started 2010, and we always heard from men, as Camilla explained, that it's difficult to find female speakers. And the reality was we just wanted to find the best speakers and the best program. And in naturally, that turned out to be about 50-50%. 50% women, 50% men, because we had a different perspective. We found people based on our perspective to find the best speakers. So by using this new perspective, we want to find the best persons and involve everyone. And this can truly be supported by doing this in practice. And Marissa will work hard with this group of people and really showcasing the women. So we work this together in a bit different ways, I believe.
Yeah. And then that's probably a good point. So you need to really try and increase diversity in all aspects so that you can give more opportunities to women and find these people. Like, it's not like we're unicorns. We are there. We do exist in legal tech, but it's about, sharing and increasing that diversity. And I mean, you've mentioned, Camilla, that it's tough in Poland. I just said, how are you making more opportunities available in Poland for women who want to get in legal tech or who are already in it but want to expand themselves?
I would say that we have not exactly, the structure for it, but both in the Women in Law Foundation and my own activities as running classes for young lawyers and talking to them about the legal tech, I think that help a lot to make them conscious simply that they can develop in that direction. From time to time, I received an email or a LinkedIn message from young lawyers that they would like to specialize on legal tech and where to start. And I think that's also very very important issue. We had yesterday our ELTA meeting. And one of the conclusions was that sometimes talking about legal tech, we are talking about the very high level, but the reality is that on the majority of the lawyers, they have no idea about legal tech. I don't know. Recently, I've run classes for the Warsaw Bar of Attorneys. I mean, the advocates, that the attorneys, the lawyers, that they have a lot of years of experience. And I've made something like essentials of legal tech. And for them, it was something so totally new. So I think that it is very important, from one hand, talking about high level issues, but from the other hand, and I would say that even more important, is to talking about the basics, about the essential things. And the issue that I even right now encounter, in my path, talking about innovation in legal tech, that no, because AI will substitute lawyers. And believe me, I've heard that from the head of legal of big bank in Poland. So I would say that's the level of consciousness about the legal tech. I hope that next year we will open the first the first postgraduate studies in Poland, legal tech and innovation in legal sector. And I hope that it will be, let's say, the first step. Firstly, to support young, and not only young, but to support lawyers and not only lawyers to go this way. And as I said, we in the Women in Law Foundation, we realized we do a lot of activities as this competition or trainings about blockchain, about smart contracts, about AI. And to educate this, because I think that the education, that's so powerful tool, that educating the people and evangelizing, let's say, the market, you can do a lot of things.
So really sort of getting in at the bottom, at the very beginning of their careers, and making, because I'm pretty sure now that in most institutions, there's actually a parity, certainly, between women and men applying to study law. I know that in my own experience, when I studied at Oxford, there was never any possible explanation or introduction to anything other than just becoming a lawyer. So I do think that universities clearly are getting better. I know that at Amsterdam, we now have a justice entrepreneurship course that we offer. But I think slowly but surely introducing people right at the beginning makes such a difference to diversity later on, if you really inspire the next generation. You work with quite a lot, Marissa, of new young lawyers. You have strong connections with universities in The Hague. Do you see more diversity and more motivated young women coming through the ranks there? How is it?
Well, Look, I am part of the professional advisory committee of the LLB of the University of Applied Science of The Hague. I've been a guest lecturer there, and I have some interns. And I cannot say, contrary to where I really wish, that I see a lot of women coming to this area, a lot of students. But that's also a little bit what Camila was saying, is that there's a lot of work to be done. The people that love the field, in a way, are a little bit detached with the reality sometimes. You know, we love it so much that we think that the levels are there and they are not. So there's really a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do with universities, with the government as well. What you said is really true. Also, this vision of the path that someone that loves law can take. You know, it's so narrow-minded that that if you would, I give you this personal experience. Till I came to the Netherlands, I was a lawyer with her first law firm, very happy. But I never had heard of even some professions. Back then, I'd never heard about contract management. I never heard about really in-house broad spectrum of professions, because I don't think many of even my colleagues yet till this day heard any of this. So I think there's so much to be done in the academia world, and then also the public sector can for sure help. But one of the things that we can also do is this intertwine of organizations. I think it's much harder to do it on one organization only. And give you an example, being part of Women in Tech, and then reach to Ayumi, the founder and CEO of the organization, and say, could we have a voice? Could we bring the niche to the table? Could we talk about this topic? And she immediately opened the doors for us to be talking here today. So you see, it's really little by little, and hopefully through an organization that has set their purpose in supporting women in tech, we can take this message to the bigger audience and say, hey guys, there's this legal tech sector that would benefit highly from your skills, and the other way around. So a lot to do, but I do not see, if I say it honest, I don't see so much the seeking from the students, but I can assure you that all my interns or students get the bug and they start thinking, should I? So I'm already responsible for a career shift, changing mindsets in the universe. So projecting.
So okay, you guys are all clearly as focusing on the bottom up inspiration of the next generation. And maybe it's also good to look at the other end, because obviously change from top down is hugely important and it's systematic. And Helena, you're very senior within ELTA, and also you've been in this industry for a long time. How are you seeing, and do you have any advice on how institutions can really implement diversity from above?
Well, in Sweden, we can see a lot of general counsels being female with really great power. We can really see how that is changing. And we also have managing partners at the bigger law firms that are female in Sweden. So we can see that change. And I believe a lot in finding role models in what you can do. And by seeing all these women that are really strong and really competent women. And on the same side, if you can see legal tech solutions with female founders, you can see speakers doing this, and you can see that in reality, because the old way looking at legal, you see this older male lawyer, and that's what is legal, what you're gonna, and that is many people consider that if you want to be in the legal sector, that's what you're looking for, that's the role model you have. But instead, if you change that and we see all these women and we can lift them and showcase them, this is what the future looks like. And you can show these different kind of solutions that are being delivered and developed. I would like to work more in practice with that, showing that, because then you see a completely new future. And if you see that future, you see the possibilities with it. And then you can get into it. You have to understand the vision about it. So I think that part is quite important.
I have to say it's been fun also to see. Sorry, Camilla, jump in.
Yeah, I would like to add something to what Helena said, because she has touched a very important thing, the general counsels. Because normally, if we are talking about legal sector, we are thinking about the law firms. And I'm very happy that Helena mentioned it, because here in Poland, I work in the foundation with so much really wonderful female head of legals of the very big enterprises, and that's I would say that nobody is it isn't strange for nobody that woman is at the top of the legal departments of, I would say, the biggest Polish firms. And I would say you an anecdote that we also have in the foundation the podcasts, and I'm inviting for the interview only women. And because I'm the fan of the technology, almost always I'm asking about this technology aspect. And for example, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had an interview with the head of legal of Huge Games. That's the very big Polish huge gaming enterprise, because we in Poland, we are very good on gaming industry. So, and we wanted to talk about the new technologies in the legal sector. And obviously we talked about that, but we, let's say, talk a lot about human relations, about the remote work, etc. And for example, lately we've recorded the podcast with the head of legal of the biggest pharma firm in enterprise in Poland. And I said, no, I won't make any question about the technology, because the people are saying to me that I'm only talking about technology. So I said, no question about the technology. And this Agnieszka, this head of legal, she on her own, because we had the subject about how internal legal department deal with COVID. I mean, not because it's very, I would say it's very easy to change, I don't know, the law firms from the work in the office to remote. But if you have all the, the production behind you, and even the production of the pharmaceuticals, so it's a little bit more difficult. So the conversation is about that, but the conversation very directly went to the technology. And I think that I would say that talking about diversity and about new technologies in the legal sector, I think that the very, very important role the GCs, the general counsels, that they have, I would say, the crucial function in all this ecosystem, because I would say the partners, they are listening to their clients, or they should listen to their clients. And if the general counsels say, I want to work with the, with the firm, no matter if it's the law firm or the legal tech firm that supports the diversity, and we can see in their activities the diversity, let's say, factor. So maybe the partners or the owner who said, oh, maybe they are right, and we will do something in this field.
And I have to say, it's something that I've seen the news recently. I don't know if everybody else read this, but even Coca-Cola at the beginning of this year has now said that unless their legal teams meet 30% diversity requirements, they will no longer work with external counsel. And I think it's I was in a webinar last week where they said the same thing. It was with Greenberg Traurig, and they said that they haven't had a single request for proposal from a client this year that has not had a diversity proponent in it. I know they're a US first, but it's a very clear sign that, frankly, the power sits in the hands of the clients.
Yeah.
Helena?
Yeah, just a comment, because it's general counsels that are the biggest clients of the law firms, and as biggest client. In law firms, they have to listen to the clients because they are the buyers of the services. So the power really lies there. That's why it's so interesting to see how the power is shifting. It's becoming much more female legal general counsels, and they have the power. So that's where the change will come, because they realize they have to think of how they buy their services. It's not just diversity. It's just efficiency, legal tech, how they are delivering it, and all of that. So it's so interesting to look at that side, which we should look at much more.
But if you allow me to because we're talking about the change from the top, and I think we're talking, of course, about legal firms, and much more focus in the private sector. But I'm very, very certain that the public sector is a lead on itself, and I also see this impact in motion. And I can give you a clear example that EltaCon was organized in Madrid by this powerful, amazing ELTA ambassador, Maria, and it was a big success. But one of the big stars of the whole program was the Secretary of State of the Portuguese Ministry of Justice, Doutora Anabela Pedroso, that in her role in governance is a clear leader in change. And she's being stimulating also the area of legal technology. They had in her cabinet the first hub, the Justice Hub. So a hub for startups in the legal tech field that would be focused in all the problems that would be facing the public sector. And something that I can already share with all of you, that is an event under the Portuguese presidency of the European Union that will be in March, promoted exactly with the support of the Ministry of Legal Tech. So you see, the change is also promoted with the stakeholders. So we do keep we have a tendency to focus in the private sector, but I think this is really a more composed problem that also needs a more composed approach. So academia, governance, private sector, this needs to be quite aligned if we want to also make the message broader. And hopefully when the legal tech is also more in the mainstream of the conversation, students or professionals will focus in an area that is very interesting and that's also an important market for the future of these professions.
Yeah, and I think also it goes to show that for anyone listening, you don't have to be the CEO of a company to make a difference within diversity efforts. Let's be clear, whether you're a customer of a business and you're asking their legal department to sort of push for that diversity from their external counsel, or you're sort of a voting citizen, you hold your government to a higher standard of diversity. That the joy of public bodies is that they are, generally speaking, held to much higher standards of diversity, of really trying to sort of push and support that. And I think anyone listening has considerably more power than they may think to sort of drive that change, both from below and from above. I think that's also probably a good point. So just to touch a little more on the public sector then, are there any other diversity efforts that you guys are seeing that are really impressive from your governments or from Europe? Obviously there's ELTA. Is there anything else that you're seeing within legal tech? Maybe Camilla, you haven't spoken in a while.
Frankly speaking, that how to explain, I'm not a big fan of our government, I would say so. So also because of that, it's the very, let's say, conservative people that they are there. I don't know, have you heard about the women protests?
Yeah.
So you can imagine what environment, I would say, we have here in Poland. I mean, all the stuff related to the abortion. That our law is the not the worst, but the most strict in whole Europe. I mean, together with Vatican and I don't know, Malta or something like that. So I wouldn't say that from the government, let's say, level, there are a lot of initiatives that support diversity. No, at all. I would say even that our government would like women to stay in the kitchen with children and not anything more. But I think that there are a lot of the initiative from the downs, let's say, and a lot of people are grouping in not only in the technology but generally speaking about the society, let's say, that we have here in Poland. But I would be very happy to be able to talk to you about our public diversity initiatives, but.
Do you see that the EU does anything there? Like, do you feel that there is some sort of more EU-wide focus on diversity there, or is that not something that you're also
we as let's say relatively new members of the European Union, we receive a lot of funds from the European Union, and let's say the European Union has their own standards. And if you want to get a fund, money from the European Union, you have to adapt to these standards. So I think that in this field, let's say the money, let's say it simply, the money made a lot to support diversity. Both in the public sector or in the private sector. But I would say that the Polish government, as it don't comes from the inside, let's say, but it comes from the outside, because we won't get money. We won't get money from the European Union if we won't, let's say, be in line with the regulation. So I would say that we are very happy that we are in the European Union still. I hope that it would never change, but. You never know.
Don't follow England's England example. As a Brit, I can tell you, I'm just so disappointed. But it seems that the theme then is follow the money, right? Like, money is clearly a huge incentive to diversity, whether it's from general council, governmental, or sort of, voting with your wallet and supporting diversity as a consumer. Helena, are there any other sort of initiatives that you're seeing in Sweden? How are things there?
Well, we're quite good at diversity in Sweden, both in government and public sector and so on. So I'm more into the private sector, and it's like I would like women more into the prosperous part of the private sector, get more power and more money into that. So we need more women into that part and get more power in the private sector.
Excellent. I have to say, I think I've lost Marissa. I was going to sort of transfer it over to her. Marissa, are you there?
I am, but there is a limitation with the image. So, the image went back. So, just to finalize in this point, actually, because I live in the Netherlands, even if one of my foot is in Portugal, the other one is in the Netherlands, I also see the importance of the international network that you ally, because the difference are quite extreme. Elena in Sweden is in a total different place. The Netherlands also, Poland and Portugal, so different. So I think the numbers, when we try to act a little bit more in pack, that we say, okay, we're not from Poland, we're not, we act in a sense of a more diversified international group. We are able to potentially, countries that are more developed, to help the ones who are struggling. You see, so I see a lot of benefit, for instance, in the groups of any group regarding promoting diversity or equality, to have this more international mindset, and also the conversations in the table. The fact that you are British, I'm Portuguese, living in the Netherlands, Camilla is in Poland, Ellen in Sweden. We have such an interesting end result of our conversations. We broad for sure our spectrum, and we can support each other in a much better way.
Yeah. I have to say, I think that is something that I always come back to, particularly within diversity efforts, the importance of laying those connections and making sure, it's never that the support isn't there. It's just that people don't know that others need that support, or that you're sort of maybe not having that connection. And I think certainly what I saw with women in legal tech was that there's just so many people there willing to be a part of it and offer that sort of help in any way that it's needed, that it's just about, finding those groups, getting those connections, and then, whether on an international scale or just a national scale, supporting each other. And then for me, because I am aware we're nearly at our hour's time, so I think it's always important to finish off these things with some sort of practical tips, things that people can take home and can try and do themselves. It doesn't have to be life-changing. I know for me that one of the biggest tips that I've always enjoyed is that try and change a little thing. You don't have to have researched for 6 years and know exactly that this is the perfect thing that's going to introduce diversity and make everything equal. That actually just changing a little bit, all you need for innovation to be successful is that tomorrow is better than today. So I think that for me, it's about, introduce a small step, change 1% at a time. And hopefully you'll find that in a year you've come so far and you've changed so many things that it's shocking how much of a difference just that small step makes each day. And I want to pass the question off to you guys first, then I'll start again with Camilla. For you, what would you say is your top tip for diversity?
Lately, I had the lectures with the ELSA, students from ELSA, European Legal Students Association. And they asked me what they can do for the diversity. And I told them, every time when you are going for the interview for a law firm or, for a company, please ask if they have any diversity policy or how many female lawyers are on the top of the law firms. And, that I think that is very, very simple. But if, I don't know, half of them or any of them will start asking that questions during the interviews, I think that the people who are managing the law firms or generally the business or public as well, they will realize that, wow, that young people, they are asking about the diversity. That's not only written in the articles that for millennials diversity is important, but it is really important because they are asking about them, and maybe also they are making the decisions on the basis if any law firm they have any diversity policy or not. So I think that it could be very easy thing that it doesn't cost you anything, but if more people would ask about it, I think that the more it will be more in our minds and in the minds of the, let's say, of the people who are managing the firms.
Excellent. So really pushing it to the forefront of everyone's attention. You can't ignore it if you're being made to focus on it. Excellent.
Exactly.
Helena, for you, what's your sort of top tip?
Well, it should be, I guess, that you should reach out and try to get some other perspectives on anything you do. And now you have all these communities, you have all these great people, and most of them are available online. Now people are even used to using all these online tools to speak with. So reach out, talk to them, try to get a new perspective, whether you will arrange a conference, you will build a tool, or whatever, or you will hire someone, just to get a new perspective, to try to look at it in a new way, and maybe you find new ways to do it. And that way, you can really promote diversity, I believe.
Excellent. And so then maybe a bit reflecting the problem-solving nature of legal tech itself, try and find what the problem is and different ways to solve it. Yeah. Marissa, the final word goes to you then, you lucky thing. Tell us, what's your top tip?
Look, my tip is don't quit. It's not easy. I'm not. When I met you, Francis, a few years ago, I was so much more refreshed and willing to do the path. And I feel that I'm not alone in saying that in a point in time, it wears you out sometimes. You don't feel the change going in the pace that you want. Every 8th of March, the last two, one of them I even end up with tears in my eyes, like I keep listening to the same conversation. It's like we're not moving forward. It's like we are in this sand field stuck. And also even seeing what's happening now in Poland, it breaks my heart. I think, if nothing better, groups of women remind you how far we are. And we keep talking about numbers, rates in countries to make sure that it sounds also positive. But everybody that I know, every single woman that I know that starts also in more senior positions, as life throws you more wisdom, as a dear friend Linda Pereira always tells me, you need to keep the spark alive. But to keep the spark alive, you need company. And exactly, because some days you will not want to be a part of the conversation. Some days you just want to quit. Nothing will change. It's pointless. Why bother? Yes, every day we need to bother, because it's all up to us. There's no Prince Charming. Nobody will save us. It's all up to us. We will build our path. Nobody else. And so also in this sense of never quit, and the tip is try to understand who can you benefit as well. What I see a lot in this recent months is that even young generations, they are like really trying to reach out more. What can you give me? What can I benefit from you? Help. Take an organization, help. There's always time. You will be so much richer in the end. I keep giving my time to organizations as Women in Tech, as ELTA. Every time I can, I do this. It's not talking the talk, is walking the walk. And thank God I found some amazing people like Ayumi, like you, Francis, like Camilla, and like Elena, that in a way keep the spark alive. And when I feel like quitting, I remember, I have other women that I cannot disappoint, so I keep going.
One final word. One of the claims of the protests right now in the Polish street, it was, "You won't walk alone," and I think that's exactly what Marissa wanted to say.
No, and I think 2020 has been a horrendous nightmare year where we've all been stuck inside very much on our own. But I think it's been great to see things like this and to still have so much connectivity with other sort of women in tech, with other female innovators, with other female techies. It's clear that there's a strong community here and that everybody's out to sort of do what they can to support that. And I think that if everybody does that little bit themselves, the difference will be there. It's changing slowly, surely, even in my.
And Francis, you create that beautiful group on LinkedIn as an open source group. It's still there. It's Women in Legal Tech. There's a beautiful cartoon, very lively there. And don't even wait to be part of the organization. I think Francis was very kind to create this open source free place to everybody to get together. And even if ELTA is more than welcome to open the arms to you, Women in Tech as well. A good opportunity is always an opportunity to take. So reach out. I think any of us will be willing to do whatever we can.
And on that tone, to anybody who is watching this, if you want to get in touch or anything like that, as Marissa said, I'm available through the Women in Legal Tech group on LinkedIn. But I think everybody here is more than willing to answer questions or sort of provide help or feedback where possible. Our doors are always open, so do get in touch. And I just wanted to say personally, thank you to all of you lovely three ladies for inviting me, allowing me to ask all of the ridiculous questions and horrendous demands that diversity seems to demand of all of us. It's been really fascinating getting all of your insights and all of these sort of different perspectives on what you can do in legal tech. And it's certainly inspired me as to what is still to come.
Thank you.
Thanks.